The University of Wolverhampton is preparing to celebrate its 200th birthday in just a few years in 2027. Our new strategy builds on our heritage by reaffirming our identity as a civic institution powered by our sense of place and connections to our local and global communities. One of the outcomes of the university have committed to is making a world-leading contribution through research and knowledge exchange in green innovation, health and well-being, and also inclusive communities. Nowhere can that commitment be more explicit than in CIDT, celebrating 50 years of innovative and important work across the world. CIDT is a social enterprise within the University of Wolverhampton with 5 decades of experience in 140 countries. And we're here celebrating 50 years of impact and achievement.
It's my absolute pleasure and privilege to be here and to tell you the story of the Centre for International Development and Training. I wanted to start by framing our work at CIDT within Goal 17 partnership. So the relationships that CIDT has built over the decades across the globe that are really our richest resources. Partnership cuts through all the global goals, and I think that's the same for CIDT's work. And it's really right that we put that at the heart of our 50th anniversary celebration. I think we've been able to mirror that multi-stakeholder approach in our own work. We've had those projects and partnerships in over 120 countries, all funded through external income generation. Capacity development, or as we like to say, capacity strengthening now, is at the heart of what we do now and what we've always done. To refer back to SDG 17, one of the indicators of that goal, target 17.9, specifies capacity development. It talks about international support for implementing effective and targeting capacity building in developing countries to support national plans to implement all SDGs. And yet it's fairly common to find that capacity and capacity development are a bit of a blurry concept. So CIDT developed this model of capacity, following the UN definition of capacity strengthening at different levels: individual, organisational, programmatic and institutional. But we also tried to distinguish between the competencies, capabilities and capacity. So there tend to be 4 areas that we've looked at over the years. 2 really big thematic areas in education and lifelong learning, and climate, forests and agriculture. With the development effectiveness, we've tended to look at design, implementation, evaluation and learning around the programmatic cycle. And of course, equity and social justice, I think that's probably integral and should be cross-cutting in all that we do. I've picked 4 of CIDT's projects from the past 10 years, a programme that CIDT did with the Caribbean Development Bank. And the programme really tried to explore the capacity tipping point. What kind of breadth and depth of training is needed? We delivered 2,300 hours of very applied skills-based training, all for a civil service audience. And we really tried to focus not just on the training input, but what people did as a result of that. The second project I'd like to share with you is improving forest governance. And this took place under the context of the Department, the UK government, the Department for International Development's Forest Law Enforcement Governance and Trade programme. Improving forest governance involved civil society stakeholders holding authorities to account and reporting corruption, intimidation and criminality in the forest sector. And this course was designed to bring together participants from different sectors: government, civil society, private sector, the academic, media, communities and Indigenous groups to tackle this. This was a 6-week programme delivered in 6 annual cycles, with over 120 participants from 25 countries in Africa, Asia and Latin America. It was a programme designed to focus on forest trade and legality, but also those soft skills to strengthen people's communication and influencing. The second story I'd like to tell you is about CIDT's work with the NDC Partnership. Now, this is a global coalition of countries and institutions collaborating to drive transformational climate change. CIDT supported with training, strategic planning support, development of the country engagement online tool that you can see here, but predominantly through the facilitation of large-scale country engagement events in 15 countries. CIDT successfully delivered the Citizen Voices for Change project with EU and Department for International Development DFID funding in partnership with 7 non-state actors in the Congo Basin. The 4-year project aimed to strengthen the contribution of civil society, Indigenous people and community organisations in sustainable forest management and ultimately the contribution of forests to development in 5 Congo Basin countries. For 4 years, partners on CB4C explored ways of making forest governance stronger, more targeted, more effective. Civil society partners took on powerful players. They assisted communities and government officials, sometimes at great personal risk. They integrated cross-cutting issues such as gender responsiveness into their work. And here we brought in new cross-sector partners such as Interpol, looking at forest crime, and Troppenbos, when the project developed an innovative radar-based satellite tool to monitor illegal logging. What I'm showing here is CIDT's theory of change. It basically shows our output, so the things that we do. It shows the change we want to bring about, our outcomes, and ultimately it shows the impact that we want to contribute to, capacity for the Sustainable Development Goals. And I believe and have been told many times that CIDT's status in terms of being part of the university as a neutral broker and that trust that we get as being part of the university and not, for example, part of the private sector has been invaluable to us. I'm going to be joined by my colleagues Daniela Bauer and Habiba Mohammed, and together we'll tell you a little something about CIDT today, our projects and partners.
I'd just like to begin with introducing to you one of our partnerships with the UN agency, the World Food Programme. So CIDT has delivered 3 phases of the Social Protection Learning Facility. This started in May 2020 and it was in response to the COVID pandemic. And it sought to deliver real-time evaluation of WFP's activities alongside providing technical assistance to WFP staff. In phase 2 of this project, there was a shift in focus. So now it's post-pandemic and the provision of technical assistance and facilitation of ideas spaces. And then finally, phase 3 was delivery of technical assistance as well as the facilitation of these idea spaces. It was a place for country office staff to exchange, so to break the silo working. We were focusing previously in East Africa region, and this was then extended to other regional offices, including Southern Africa, Western Africa, North Africa in the Middle East, Latin America and the Caribbean, Asia and the Pacific. So we went global. So how did we do this at CIDT? We coordinated the facility. So this was the management as well as leading on the technical support. And we did this working closely with WFP staff. But we also had a pool, an instrumental pool of 18 experts. And we delivered services on quality assurance of concept notes, support to develop and review of strategy documents, advice to WFP staff on program and knowledge outputs. And this is just to mention a few.
Another project that I wanted to talk to you about today is the Strengthening Wildlife Law Enforcement in Central Africa, which is another EU-funded project. We work closely with several NGOs, both local and international, in 5 Congo Basin countries. The consortium is led by a Belgian organization called Conservation Justice. And the project aims to strengthening the law enforcement on fauna and flora through the increasing role of civil society in fighting against wildlife crime in these countries. What we actually aim to do as CIDT is to assist our partners in using the data collected in the framework of the project to produce studies and policy briefs, and to also build their capacities on issues related to gender mainstreaming in the project activities, improving the quality of their data collection, processing and analysis.
Just to ask you really to reflect on the role of what we call knowledge exchange within the university setting. I think this has the potential to be one of the university's strengths. I think that's really the heart of what CIDT does and has always done. I just want to leave you with a set of questions. which is about what can academia bring to the table in global sustainable development. And I've made some suggestions here. And I'd just like to close with really seeing CIDT and its team with this rather clunky phrase of being academics. We've always seen ourselves as practitioners, but perhaps we can sort of blend that into a new dual identity and call ourselves with this new brand.